Book of Esther, a royal drama, a beauty pageant, and how to save a nation. Okay, folks, buckle up, because the Book of Esther is basically the ultimate biblical drama. Think of it as a mix between a royal soap opera and a superhero origin story, but with fewer capes and more crowns. It's got everything. A king with questionable decision-making skills, an evil villain who could give Disney baddies a run for their money, and an unlikely heroine who saves her people using courage, smarts, and impeccable timing. So, grab your popcorn, or, some unleavened bread or something, and let's dive into this wild and inspiring story, Esther style. Chapter 1. The King Throws a Party. That goes too far. We start the book with King Xerxes, or Ahasuerus if you want to sound fancy, throwing a party. And by party, I mean a 180-day-long rager to show off his wealth, power, and, presumably, his ability to throw the world's longest open bar. After half a year of partying, the king decides to show off one more thing: his queen, Vashti. But she's not having it. When Xerxes calls her to come strut her stuff in front of a bunch of drunk men, Vashti responds with what we can only imagine was the ancient Persian equivalent of, "Nah, I'm good." And just like that, Vashti is out. Xerxes, the sensitive soul that he is, decides that because his wife didn't follow orders, she's gotta go. You can already tell this guy's gonna be a handful, right? So Queen Vashti is deposed, and Xerxes is suddenly single again. Chapter 2. Enter Esther stage right, and cue the beauty contest. Now that Xerxes is single and ready to mingle, his advisors suggest holding a king-sized beauty pageant to find a new queen. This is where Esther comes into the picture. Esther is a young Jewish woman living in Persia with her cousin Mordecai. She's smart, brave, and, as it happens, drop-dead gorgeous. Esther doesn't enter the contest voluntarily. She's kind of drafted into it. But she quickly becomes a favorite. And, surprise, surprise, she wins the crown. That's right, the orphaned Jewish girl becomes Queen of Persia. If this were a rom-com, this would be the part where the montage of Esther trying on the tiaras and adjusting to palace life kicks in. But here's the catch. Esther keeps her Jewish identity a secret because, well, things aren't exactly safe for her people in Persia. Chapter 3. Enter Haman, the evil villain. Boo, hiss. Every good story needs a villain, and in Chapter 3, we meet Haman, the guy you're definitely supposed to boo whenever he shows up. Haman's basically Xerxes' right-hand man, and he's got an ego that would put modern-day influencers to shame. He expects everyone to bow down to him. But when Mordecai, Esther's cousin, refuses, Haman loses it. Instead of just being mad at Mordecai, Haman decides to take it out on all the Jews. Yeah, a bit of an overreaction. Haman convinces Xerxes to issue a decree that will allow the destruction of the Jewish people throughout the empire. And Xerxes, showing off his incredible judgment skills once again, goes along with it without asking too many questions. So, things are looking pretty grim for Esther's people. Sorry ahead for this rude interruption. At Modern Testament Talks, we play by the rules. So I thought it might be important to let you know some rules about this program. Rule number 1. Stop, drop, and open up shop. It's important stuff. Rule number 2. Continue watching till the end, because our content is straight cash money. Rule number 3. Join us in Faith Foundations, Bible study, journaling and art activity. We end all episodes with, and the final rule. We ask that you come along and grow your faith with all of us. And now back to the show. Chapter 4. Mordecai's epic pep talk. When Mordecai finds out about Haman's evil plan, he's understandably freaked out. He sends word to Esther urging her to go to the king and beg for mercy. But here's the thing. You couldn't just waltz into the king's throne room without an invitation, even if you were the queen. If you tried, you could be put to death. Yikes. Esther's like, are you sure about this? And Mordecai drops one of the most famous lines in the Bible. Adam, who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Esther 4, verse 14. Basically, he's telling her, Look, Esther, maybe you became queen for this exact moment. You're in the palace for a reason, so it's time to step up. No pressure, right? Esther takes a deep breath, probably grabs some prayer time and says, "If I perish, I perish." Esther 4, verse 16. In other words, she's going for it, no matter the risk. This is her hero moment. Chapter 5. Esther's sneaky dinner party. Now, Esther doesn't just barge into the throne room yelling, "Save the Jews." Nope, she's strategic. She dresses up, looking her absolute queenly best, and approaches the king. Fortunately, Xerxes is in a good mood and extends his golden scepter, meaning Esther's life is spared. Phew. But instead of spilling the beans right away, Esther invites Xerxes and Haman to a fancy dinner. She knows that the way to a king's heart is through his stomach. Classic move. Set after the first dinner, she invites them to another dinner the next night, keeping everyone in suspense. Haman leaves the first feast feeling pretty good about himself, but his mood sours when he sees Mordecai still refusing to bow down. So what does Haman do? He builds a 75-foot gallows to hang Mordecai on. Talk about being petty. Chapter 6. Sleepless nights and the plot thickens. This is where the story takes a major plot twist. That night, Xerxes can't sleep, probably too much wine at Esther's dinner party, so he asks for the royal records to be read to him. Because nothing says sleep aid like ancient meeting notes, right? But here's the twist. As the records are read, Xerxes realizes that Mordecai had once saved his life from an assassination plot, and he never got properly rewarded for it. Xerxes, in an epic twist of irony, asks Haman, remember, the guy who hates Mordecai, what should be done for someone the king wants to honor? Haman, thinking Xerxes is talking about him, suggests a grand parade where the honored person is dressed in royal robes and paraded around the city on the king's horse. Xerxes loves the idea and tells Haman to do it for, wait for it, Mordecai. Yep, Haman has to throw a parade for the very guy he wants to kill. Talk about awkward. Chapter 7. Esther drops the bombshell. At the second dinner party, Esther finally reveals her big secret. She tells Xerxes that she's Jewish and that Haman's evil plot would mean the death of her people, including her. Xerxes is furious. Apparently, he didn't read the fine print on Haman's decree. In a dramatic turn of events, Haman is exposed as the villain he is, and in a twist of poetic justice, he's hanged on the very gallows he built for Mordecai. Ouch. Chapter 8 to 10. The Big Save. Now that Haman's out of the picture, Xerxes gives Esther and Mordecai the power to write a new decree. They issue an edict allowing the Jews to defend themselves against their enemies. When the fateful day arrives, the Jews are victorious, and their lives are spared. The book wraps up with Mordecai becoming second in command to Xerxes. Talk about a promotion. And the Jewish people instituting the Feast of Purim to celebrate their deliverance. Esther, the unlikely queen, becomes the heroine of the story, and her courage saves an entire nation. Not bad for a girl who started out as an orphan. So, in conclusion, Esther and the power of courage. The Book of Esther is more than just a dramatic royal tale. It's a story of bravery, faith, and the power of stepping up when the moment calls for it. Esther's journey from an ordinary girl to a queen who saved her people reminds us that God places us where we are for a reason. Sometimes, like Esther, we may find ourselves in difficult or even dangerous situations, but God can use us in those moments to make a difference. Esther's story teaches us that no matter who we are, we have the potential to change the world around us, if we're willing to take the risk and trust in God's plan.